So I want to introduce you to, I want to just do intros for our keynote speakers. We've got two great speakers today, and I think you guys are going to have a lot of fun today. So we're going to start with Tim. His career spans over 25 years and over 83,000 hours in leadership. He's known as the networking guru and the career guru. He educates and shares his wisdom with thousands every year. Tim uses his name as an acronym for his purpose in life, which is touch, inspire, and move people to act on their passion and goals. And I have actually seen him do this. I've seen it in action. He is truly amazing. As an author, he has written 2 books, the bestseller, Tapping the Iceberg, and more recently, G3, which talks about net giving, and you guys will each receive a copy of that before you leave here today. And his partner in crime tonight is Mark Mckoy. So,
got that right.
Mark Mckoy showed an interest in track and field early on in his life. He first qualified for the 1980 Olympic Games in Moscow, which for some of us, we know those were boycotted. For others of you, I'm telling you now, they were boycotted. And again in 88, 84, 88, and 92. In 1984, he set numerous Canadian records, and in 1992, he won the gold medal in the 110-meter hurdles, the first track gold medal for Canada in 64 years. A 5-time Olympian, Mark still holds a world record for the 50-meter hurdles, which he set in 1986. How many of you were here in 1986? No, I'm kidding. Don't tell me. Today, Mark focuses on his fitness and therealmckoy.com. He is extremely knowledgeable in the area of food, nutrition, and physical development, and he really is an authority on fitness. So I would now like you to turn your attention to the screen for a quick video before we get them up on the stage.
The final of the 110 meters hurdles. Oh, Jackson got away well, so did Mckoy, and Jackson going well on Mckoy at the moment. Mckoy leading, Jackson going well, and Dee's going well. And Collins struggling now, he's gone. Mckoy leading at the moment, and Mark Mckoy of Canada. Mckoy wins it, Mckoy's the Olympic champion. I think Dee's got silver, Jackson run right out of it, 13.11. And Mckoy, the man that Jackson tipped in a sense, he said he was going so...
Pretty amazing, eh? Pretty incredible. I mean, it's pretty nice having a true Canadian hero. And I think as Canadians, we really don't do a great job at this. We really don't promote our heroes as much as we should. So I'm going to talk to Mark a little bit and ask him a few questions. And I think I can...
No, I will not grow back that mustache. You know, that's always the first question.
First question
I'm not Mexican.
Was it November and you were doing an early November?
I was doing November, yeah.
But I think I can call you a friend, can I?
Well, we'll see.
So one of the things that's kind of cool is Mark and I go back about 15 years. And before I sort of ask you a few questions, I want to just relay an amazing story. The first time I met Mark was I was working with Xerox, and there was a big track event down at Skydome. And we invited, through one of the people who worked with me, a guy by the name of Tony Sharp, who had won the bronze in the LA Games, worked for Xerox, and we said, can we go out and get some of the best track and field people? And he said, let me see what we can do. So my first experience is meeting Mark in a corporate box with a bunch of customers and meeting him there. And after that event, it was kind of interesting. My daughter at the time was 10 years old, and she was really into hurdles. And so I actually said, you know, Mark, my daughter's into hurdles, and you know, it's not really the serious stuff. I mean, it's not Olympic time for her at that point in time, but would you come and give her a few pointers? And he said, absolutely. And what we did is, it was up in the Lawrence Park area, actually at Lawrence Park School. But I remember my daughter coming out, and she had her tracksuit on and everything, and Mark came out and started walking through a routine. How do you get ready? How do you prepare? How should you go over the hurdles? And the whole time, I caught it all on video, which was pretty cool. The whole time, I'm kind of going to my daughter, you know who he is, right? He's the best in the world. And you know,
she didn't care.
No, she's kind of going.
Just show me what to do.
Yeah,
I don't care who you are.
Let's get moving on this thing, right? And so, you know, pretty cool, but we got it all in video. And I asked Mark, and Mark actually, you know, came back 3 or 4 times and helped her. And what's kind of cool to this story, and I'm not saying it was all Mark, but he probably made a little bit of a difference on this one, is 5 years later in the city championships, my daughter won the gold in the Toronto City Championships in the hurdles.
It was all me.
Yeah, she had a great coach. So, you know, I'm gonna ask you a few questions today, and you know, obviously from a mentoring perspective, but from a coaching perspective, and you know, some of the things that you've gone through, and you know, something that people always ask you is, you know, what are the 3 most important elements for really achieving success? What does it take to achieve success?
I have no idea. I just winged it.
I'll go get my daughter and bring her in. Yeah.
She knows better than I do. Well, thank you for having me. It's great to be here. First of all, I'm not Marnie. She's much bigger than I am, as you probably remember from last year, for those of you who are here. It's funny, I come here, I had no idea what to expect. I had no idea we were talking about mentorship. I didn't know what the whole evening was about. But the most important thing in my career, I think, was coaching. It's funny, knowing this guy for so long, it used to be really easy to answer a question like that. Because Tim is such a perfectionist, because of his, he likes acronyms, you know, his touch, inspire, move. He's actually touched, inspired, and moved me to think a little bit more about, you know, getting questions, answering questions, rather than just saying, no, I do this, this, and this. Not a big deal. I used to say, you know, because he made up an acronym, and you know, you might guess that I'm a little competitive, just a touch. So I went home and I was like, well, I got to make up one too. Can't have all the glory. So I made one up, and it was PACE, and I don't mean you have just to run fast to get there. It was passion, action, coaching without excuses. But that was pretty general. I mean, everybody knows that. You guys all know that already. So I thought it was pretty cool. Those are my main. I used that for a long time, and because of Tim, I thought, you know, I got to dig deeper. Like he said, what are the main things that make you successful? So I thought, you know, all athletes have that. All successful people have that. I mean, that's sort of like the fundamentals of success. But what's the difference between, to me, I thought, first of all, I have to define what success is, because most people would agree, I think, that going to Olympics would be successful. But what's the difference between going to Olympics and winning the Olympics? Like, there's a different level of success there. So I dug a little bit deeper. I started to do something I've never done in my whole life. Picked up a book and read. As an athlete, I didn't get, you know.
And one of he likes Dr. Seuss like I do. So it's, you know,
that's about all I've read in my life.
Those count, right?
Yeah, they do. They don't?
Of course they do.
As a matter of fact, I mean, I only remember, seriously, I'm not an academic at all, as you might imagine. I only remember reading one book in my entire high school career. It was The Hobbit in grade 9. I had to do a book report. I don't even remember what it's about. I don't think I've
It's about a hobbit.
Yeah. Bilbo Baggins, that's all I remember.
Yeah.
But I never, you know, really read until I met Tim, and he gave me his book, so I had no choice because,
Yeah.
you know, he's going to ask me questions. He's going to ask you questions.
Brushed up on that.
I hope you guys have read it, and you're going to read G3. G3 was a really good book too. So I was never really, you know, into studying or reading or anything like that. I like to move. I have no patience. I can't sit down for 5 minutes and read a book. So I did a little more digging, and you go through all the great motivators, inspirators, coaches from Napoleon Hill all the way up to the great Tim Cork. And
nice to put me with Mr. Think and Grow Rich. That's
there you
good.
go. So yeah. I started to read. I was thank you. I thank you for that. So I said I dug a little deeper, and I think the real difference, because there's a huge difference between actually, you know, just going to the Olympics and winning. I tried enough times, as you heard from the video, fourth. Like, I couldn't get on the podium if you paid me. But I think the real difference to me was a choice. And there are certain choices. I made a lot of bad choices, obviously, but a lot of choices in my life that made a difference between being a good athlete and being the best athlete. And one of the main choices, like I said, was getting a coach, because most of my career, I was self-coached. I thought I knew it all. And especially being here in Canada, we didn't really have a lot of successful track and field athletes. So we didn't have a lot of successful track and field coaches. So what I did was to choose to go to different routes, go down to the States, go on scholarship, and then eventually go to Britain, where you heard I trained with Colin Jackson, who was the best hurler in the world, had the best coach in the world. And so the choices I made were really the difference between your regular, like I said, all athletes have passion. They all, have to actually go out there and do it, take some kind of action. And but I didn't have the coaching. I didn't have the coaching. So that was the one of the main things. And also, on top of that is desire. I think there's a little bit of a difference between passion, which everybody has to be successful, and desire, because a lot of people have dreams, they have goals, but they don't actually follow through. And when they come up against obstacles, hurdles, excuse the pun, it deters them, it stops them, and it's the desire to go through no matter what. I've been injured. It took me 16 years of training to get to Barcelona. I said I was injured numerous times. I've been through surgeries. I failed most of my career, as most athletes do. So it's really a matter of how much desire do you really have. And I think that is one of the key factors. So you make the choices, and it's your burning desire to actually do better than everybody else, no matter what's happening in your life. And the final thing is perseverance. 16 years, that says it all right there.
And you talked about excuses, so limiting factors. You've talked about this before. Limiting factors for people, and you talk about this quite often.
Stay away from anybody who says can't and but. Those are my main two. If you're talking to somebody and I can do this and this, but, stop them right there. Done. Don't talk to me, because that'll just drag you down. I work with athletes now. For the longest time since I've retired, people have asked me to coach. And I said, no, not interested. I've had enough track. Not only was I tired of track, I was tired of beating yourself up against the federation. It's an uphill battle the whole way in Canada. But athletes are the people who make the most excuses. And it drove me nuts, because I knew what it took. I've been through it. I've made enough excuses myself, so I'm giving you the shortcut. These are things not to do. And athletes are the worst by far. We used to train, we're talking about passion again. You have to have the passion. You have to get up at 5. If you want to be good, you got to get up earlier than people, and you got to stay later. This is nothing new. You got to work out in Canada, in the snow, in the cold, in the rain. You go up to York, and it's a nice day outside. Everybody's inside training. Like, track and field is an outdoor event. There's always an excuse, especially, I said, more than anybody else. You'll find in every walk of life, but athletes make more excuses than anybody else. And I think that's one of the reasons why we don't do very well in sport. And I used to have this thing that's like, if you want to do well in sport, unfortunately, I love this country. It's the best place to live, the best place to bring up kids. I've been all over the world. I love Toronto. I love Canada. But if you want to be good in sports, get out. Go south. Seriously, it's a mentality that we don't have up here. And anybody who's been to the States, anybody who's been on scholarship or just been to a sporting event down there, you'll see the difference. It's a huge difference. They don't make excuses, right? The Americans are out there to win. We're out there to compete and maybe do okay. It's true. Yeah. Canadian athletes, we have this satisfied type mentality. You make it to the Olympics, oh, that's pretty good. I'm satisfied with that. Americans they're not like that. It's a complete change of attitude. So it's not only the federations and all that stuff we have to battle against. We have to battle against ourselves. We just have this mentality, and I don't know how to change. We just will not be successful until we change that.
Change the system, and I think a lot of people would be curious in the room. Why hurdles? Why did you choose hurdles of all things, right?
2 things I already talked about. Passion. You have to have a passion for something, because if you don't love what you're doing, If you don't have a burning passion and desire for what you're doing, you're not going to do well at it. Don't care what it is. And it's a choice. Like you choose something, and it's up to you. You're going to go this way or this way. It's your choice. And then you ask me about why I chose hurdles. I didn't choose hurdles. So people say, like, how do you do so well in hurdles? It has to be a burning passion. It has to be a desire. It has to be a choice. I didn't choose. I remember this is way back before probably most of you, in 1976, Montreal Olympics. I was in my basement. I was brought up in England, so I loved running and I loved soccer. I was here though. I was in Canada, and I was watching 1976 Olympics, and I was watching the 100-meter final. Anybody here old enough to? Anybody watch the Olympics? Anyway, I love track, and I was watching the 100-meter final, and there was this guy. It was in lane 1. He had these long bobby socks. They were striped. He was an underdog. He wasn't supposed to win. And I watched him blow everybody away, run the fastest time in the world ever. This guy from Trinidad, his name was Hasty Crawford. I don't know if anybody follows track or knows the name. Oh, it's one guy, Hasty Crawford. He must be Trinidadian, right? No. Yeah, they did. They learned. Unlike Canada, nobody named anything after me. I go to Oakville. There's a Donovan Bailey Park. There's everything.
The real Mckoy. I think that was named after him, wasn't it?
They got some names after me, but I won't use them in a mixed. Anyway, so I saw this guy, and I was like, that's what I want to do. I wanted to be the fastest man in the world. So I went to my coach that fall, and I said, Coach, I want to be on a track team. I want to be the fastest guy in the world. And after he picked himself up the floor, because I was a little skinny guy, I didn't even look like an athlete, he was laughing. So was the rest of the team. He says, well, Mark, there's a couple problems with that. Is number one, everybody wants to be the fastest man in the world. Everybody wants to be a sprinter. There's a boatload of sprinters on our team. And he said, number two, you're not that fast. So I'm like, but coach, I want to go to the Olympics. I mean, I just saw it in the summer. This is what I want to do. And he goes, well, why don't you try hurdles? So that's how I got into hurdles. I'm like, I didn't even know what hurdles. Nobody in their right mind wants to run hurdles. Does anybody run hurdles? It's not something you get up in the morning and say, you know what, I want to go full out, full speed at these 10 barriers that are up to your neck. They're heavy. If you hit them, you're going to drop. Nobody does that. So he says, you got a choice. You can be a hurdler or you can be a water boy. Take your pick. So I'm like, what did you say those hurdles were again, sir? So he goes, well, that's the second problem. Is at this school, the reason we don't have any hurdlers is because we don't have any hurdles. So, okay, great. He goes, don't make such a big deal out of it. How hard can it be? 3 steps, jump, 3 steps, jump. So anyway, I want to go to the Olympics. So I go out in this field, and all the sprinters, they have, starting blocks. The jumpers, they have the high jump pits, and the throwers, they have the javelins and all that. And there's this little skinny kid, doesn't even look like an athlete, running and jumping in the middle of an empty field. The whole team is laughing their ass off at this guy. And anyway, make a long story short, I get to my first track meet, and come dead last. I hit down every hurdle on the track because obviously, when you actually set them up, they weren't exactly where I was practicing.
They were real hurdles.
They were real hurdles. They're completely different.
Yeah.
To make a long story even shorter, is 3 months later, I went on to, first of all, I figured I better figure a way to figure this out. So I got a coach. And that's what my point trying to be. The importance of coaching. I got a coach, joined the track club, and 3 months later, I went on to win the Ontario Championships, high school championships. I won it a couple more years, and then I got a scholarship down to the States, where you have to go. And that was in 1980. I went down, I was training down there. Coach comes up to me, and he says, Mark, good news, bad news. Good news is you made the Olympic team. So I was elated. I was over the hill. I mean, that's what I wanted to do. 4 years ago, I said I was going to the Olympics, and it wasn't the sprints, but I was going to the Olympics. So the bad news is you're not going to the Olympics because it was 1980. It was a boycott. So you can imagine I was 18 years old. I was devastated because, it was my dream. It was my passion. It was my desire. And, I almost was there, and then you can't go. So he said, not a big deal. Don't make such a big deal. You're young. Just go to the next ones. It's 4 years. It's like, I open up my calendar, it's 1,461 days of training. Like, it's not like, you know, NHL, NFL. They got a championship every year. It's 4 years. So I said, oh, you know, I am young. I can do it again. So I decided to train again for another 4 years. And along the way, coaching in the States was a lot better. I won the 1982 Commonwealth Games and set a Commonwealth record. Fourth in the World Championships, as you heard on the video. Comes to 1984 Olympics. I made the team again. So finally, I did. Most athletes don't get to make a team. Like, if you look at the odds of the athletes making an Olympic team, most athletes don't make one Olympic team. But and you know, to make a second one was almost unheard of, but I managed to do it. And before you know it, there you are. You're standing, and you can just put you in my shoes for just a second here. So you're standing on the start line in Los Angeles. Okay, you're 22 years old. You're a kid. You're in Hollywood. So, you know, it's more than just Olympics. This is exciting.
Olympics in Hollywood, yeah.
Like, that's what I'm thinking. Like, so you're on the line, and you know, you're young. You're in the final. So I'm going from having my dream come true to being in the Olympic final. I just wanted to go to the Olympics. So I'm there. Your heart is bumping it's coming out of your chest. You're so nervous. The starter says, on your marks. You take your clothes off. Your heart's going like 1,000 miles an hour. Get set. Your heart's no longer in your chest. It's in your mouth. Like, the gun goes, and I get the best start of my life. I take 2 steps out of the blocks. I'm like 1 second into the race, and I think I've won this thing. I don't see anybody. I'm so far ahead. Best start I've ever had. I think even better than in Barcelona. So step 3, step 4, I'm thinking, hey, you know what? This is Hollywood. Like, if I win here, I'm going to get on all the on the late shows. Like, I'll be on there with Johnny Carson. Most of you guys are too young, wouldn't remember Johnny Carson. But I'll be on the Tonight Show, you know, step 5, step 6. I'm thinking about all the parties I can go to. Like, serious. Like,
you're getting a lot in before you hit the first hurdle. That's pretty good.
I'm thinking, with one of these, you can get anywhere. Like, you can just flash this. I'll be partying with all the celebrities. Like, you know, it's only like, we're only 3 seconds into the race. So, you know, step 7, I see Pamela Anderson. She's jumping up and down in the front row. I could be partying with Pam. Step 8, crash. I go straight into the first hurdle.
Oh, no.
So I'm like, I'm lucky I still stay on my feet. So I come off the first hurdle, and my start was so good. Seriously, that was one of the best starts I've ever had, that I'm still ahead. Like, if you guys remember Perdita, she hit the hurdle, and she dropped. That's what I thought was going to happen, but I managed to stay on my feet. So you regain your composure, and you think, okay, better start focusing on the race again. So I get over hurdle 2, hurdle 3. I'm still ahead. I'm thinking, okay, I could still make it. I could still get on, I could still get to see Johnny and Pam and everybody else. And smash, I go straight into hurdle 4. This time, 2 guys go flying past me. So you're recomposing it. It's amazing how long a 13-second race can take when you're actually in it. Like, when you watch it, it's like no time.
And you can take 10 minutes describing that 13 seconds.
That's how long it felt.
It's amazing.
It's amazing, yeah.
I'm just messing with you.
See what I mean? Remember that question you asked me at the beginning, if we were friends for a long time?
Yeah.
We'll answer that at the end.
Okay, point.
But, so you regain your composure now. Like, all this is really going on. Like, you think I'm joking. This is going on in my head in the middle of an Olympic final. So anyway, I recompose, and I'm going, okay, better concentrate on the race. I go over hurdle 5, hurdle 6, hurdle 7, come to the end of the race. I'm like, okay, you know what? Maybe I'm not going to win this, but I'll get on the podium. Smash straight into hurdle 10. One last guy goes by me, this huge white Finnish guy. Like, I'm not racist or anything, but it's hurdles. There's no white people that win. I know I'm pretty light, but I'm still West Indian. Anyway, he goes flying by me. I dip with the tape, and I lose by 5/100ths of a second. It's like a blink of an eye. I come 4th, as you heard in the thing. So there goes my Olympic dream. Well, I was there, but it was so close And it's probably the only time I've ever cried as an adult. I cried back on my way back to my 5-star hotel in my stretch limousine, because Adidas used to sponsor us back there. We didn't. If you were like one of the better athletes, you didn't have to stay in the village with everybody else. You could stay in a 5-star hotel. I was staying with the royal family, actually. But that was the only time I ever remember crying. I was devastated.
Wow. Some of the, I think a lot of people would want to hear too is sharing some of your most important lessons and how are they applicable to what you do today. And, one of them is, and you've always said this to me, is if you want to be the best, you got to go hang with the best. And Mark has already said Canada wasn't necessarily the best place to be, so he went to the U.S. The U.S. weren't the best in the world. So then you went over to Britain, right?
Yeah.
So you went over there. Tell the story about Malcolm and your foot. I think that's an incredible story.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it was, that was one I mean, there's a lot of disappointments. Most athletes lose more than they win, and so that's where the perseverance and the desire comes in. Excuse me. So after that, you have to rethink if you want to go through this again. It's another 4 years, another 1,461 days of training. I got my chart out, I put it up on a wall, and I start ticking off the days as you're training through this. And before I even take a look at
going into that, yeah. So yeah, 88, right?
Yeah, I go down to. I figure I got to do something different because I'm getting close. I was a pretty good athlete, so I actually, before I go to England, I go down to the States who had the best hurdlers at the time in the mid '80s, and I go to a coach who's coached all of the best hurdlers in the world up to that point, and he got me prepared. And I again, the importance of coaching. He was an amazing coach. His name was Wilbur Ross. He was in his 70s when he coached me. He was going over hurdles in his 70s, high hurdles in his 70s. So he taught me a few things. I took that back, and I prepared for 88. And his coaching was, at the time, was amazing. When I came into Seoul in 88, I was ranked number 2 in the world. So in Los Angeles, I was ranked 4th in the world. And through better coaching, I moved up to number 2 in the world. Number 1 in the world indoors, and number 2 in the world just before the games. Going into the games, I was training. I was in the best shape I'd ever been, and about 6 months out, I snapped my Achilles tendon. So I go to the doctor. Well, I didn't snap. I tore my Achilles tendon. I knew what it was right off the bat. I went to the doctor, and he says, "Mark, got a torn Achilles tendon." I'm like, "No shit, doc. I know that already. What can I do? I gotta run." He goes, "Well, you need surgery." I'm like, "How long is that going to take?" He said, 12 to 18 months to recover from Achilles surgery. I'm like, "Doc, the Olympics are in 6 months. I don't have 12 to 18 months. What else you got?" He goes, "Well, I can give you a cortisone shot, but I don't recommend it. You need surgery." So anyway, I'm like, "Just give me the shot. I don't have time for surgery." So he gives me a shot, and it works for a month or two, and the pain keeps coming back. So I keep going back. I'm, "Doc, it worked for a while. I need some more drugs." So he goes, I can't do it. It's like, if I give you another shot, your career is over." So I said, "Doc, if you don't give me a shot, my career is over." So he goes, "Okay, you know what? I'll do it one more time." I had 6 more shots to get me through from that point to Seoul. So I go into Seoul, and I was still in good shape. The shots managed to get me through the training. Get in the box. There you are again. You're in the final, on the start line in the final. And really, the Olympics is like the biggest show on earth, really. And once again, the starter calls you to your marks. You get in the box, and I told you, I'm not a scholar. I'm not that smart, but I remember 4 years ago what happened. So I'm focusing on the race. Like, Pam's not there. Don't have to worry about her. I'm focusing on the race. I come out of the box. Another great start. Get over hurdle 1. Don't knock it down. 2, 3, 4. I was halfway through the race. I was still ahead. Ranked 2nd in the world. I said, this time, I was old for a hurdler at the time. I was 26 years old. But this time I'm going to get on the podium. Get to hurdle 6, hurdle 7, and I start seeing Pam again, starting to wave her hand. I go straight into hurdle 8. The whole field goes by me. Come last, dead last. So I pack my stuff up, go home, and I'm like, I'm done. I'm injured. I had the Achilles surgery. I was out for a year. I was, for somebody that was your dream, your passion for your whole life, I was devastated. I was like, not quite on the antidepressants, but I was down there. I mean, I was at an all-time low. I sunk so low, I sold real estate. You can't get much lower than that. So I did. I actually did.
I bought some of that from you. It didn't pay off really well.
No, it wasn't a great job. So anyway, during that time, I was in contact with Colin Jackson, who was the #1 hurdler at the time, and his coach, Malcolm Arnold. And so I was talking back and forth, and you can obviously hear I was depressed. We were really good friends at the time, and he was like, Mark, how's your foot doing? And it was okay. I was still limping around, but it was getting better. It had been about 12 months now. And he goes, why don't you come over here and train with us? Now, I know he was doing it just because he felt sorry for me, because he knows, I'm old. I was, getting towards, I was almost 30 at the time. And he just wanted to help me out, help a buddy out. I was thinking, hey, it's not a bad idea. I mean, he's the best hurdler in the world. His coach is the best coach in the world. Hey, maybe I can make a comeback and do something. So I go all the way to Britain, and Malcolm, Colin's coach, calls us over, and he says, Colin, are you sure you want me to coach Mark? And Colin's like, sure. This one-footed old man. You can help him out. No big deal. He goes, why? He goes, because, I've been watching Mark for years. I know what's wrong with him. Like, I can fix him. I know Colin just will do it. Yeah, right. Here's some one-footed, 30-year-old man. I'm the best hurdler in the world. Like, there's going to be any competition here. So he goes, yeah, no problem, coach him. So Malcolm takes me over. This is the first day of training after being off for almost 18 months now. And he goes, Mark, just, go over it. Let me confirm what I saw. Go over a flight of hurdles for me. So I run over a flight of hurdles. And I come back. And he goes, your foot, when you land off a hurdle, your trail foot, so there's a lead foot and there's a trail foot, it's crooked. So I'm going over a hurdle, it's like this, and this foot is like this. He goes, if you straighten that foot, you'll gain an inch. So I'm thinking to myself now, this is the best hurdle coach in the world. I've just traveled halfway around the world to train with the best hurdle coach in the world. And he's telling me that if I straighten my foot, I can get an inch. Like, I'm expecting, big things. An inch? That's all you got? And he goes, yeah, but you do it 39 times in a race. Yeah. So that's 39 inches. You know how much I won the Olympics by? 39 inches.
He won the gold medal by 39 inches. It's pretty crazy,
yeah,
right?
But that's the difference in what coaching makes. I mean, you call it mentorship, you can go, but coaching is the number, and that's why coming today is so amazing, because I had no idea that's what you were doing.
One inch at a time. I mean, really, one, makes the difference, right?
If you have a good coach.
If you have a good coach.
Good coach.
I like this one. A couple quick questions for you is, first of all, the odds of winning a gold medal are?
The funny thing is, when you see these big lotteries, 50 million, whatever they are, people will come up to me on a Friday and say, did you get your lottery ticket for tomorrow? And the first thing I say, you're nuts. Like, it's impossible to win a lottery. The odds are 1 in 14 million to win a lottery. Don't waste your money. It's impossible. You cannot do it. The odds of winning the Olympics are 1 in 22 million. Never once did I think I couldn't win the Olympics.
1 in 22 million.
Yeah, I should have bought a lottery ticket. I could have won it twice. Yeah, not even a ball.
And the podium. So you've won the race, and at the time, you were not favored to win the race. No. And so because it's a pretty great story, tell your story about after the race, they got to get you through pretty quickly, and they got to test you. Yeah. So what did they do?
Well, a lot of people ask me, what does it feel like to be on the podium? I mean, not many people get to do it, obviously, and I wish I knew what it felt like, but I actually don't, and I'll tell you why. Because all my life I've been striving to get on the podium, and I have no idea what it feels like to be up there. After the race, the drug testing people, they're faster than you are. I don't know how fast. I don't know how they get there so fast. There's like a whole swarm of them, and everywhere you go, they're following you around. As soon as you come across that finish line.
Especially Canadians. I think this guy named Ben Johnson gave, probably set that.
Follow that guy. Yeah, so they follow you everywhere. And before you go anywhere, you have to pee in this little cup and give them a sample. So they take you right into the doping control area, and they stay with you until you go to the bathroom. And because there's 100 athletes in there, they wanted to get you out there fast. Now, Colin doesn't drink. Not that I do much, but I drink a little bit. But living at Colin's house, I never had alcohol for the whole year. In Barcelona, it was 40 degrees. I don't eat the day I compete. I don't drink water the day I compete. All I do is drink coffee all day long. So I was dehydrated from coffee. I was dehydrated because it's 40 degrees out. Hadn't slept in 2 days because we have heats and quarterfinals on one day and semifinals and finals on the next day. So I hadn't eaten in 2 days, hadn't had anything to drink except for coffee, and it's 40 degrees. Dehydrated, hadn't had alcohol in over a year. They want to get you out of the doping control area, so what do they give you? Beer. So
Lots of beer.
Well, I was a little elated from winning, just a touch. So I'm putting back beer. I put back 12 in 30 minutes. If you look on this medal, which you'll have to check if you want to, there's a little dent on the bottom of it. They take you from the doping control area right onto the podium. I have no idea what it's like to be on the Olympic podium, needless to say.
That's good. Now
that's very Canadian, eh?
That's a good one. He must be Canadian. So first, now obviously, your experience and everything else, and Mark spends a lot of time with people running a health and wellness, and he works with a lot of executives. And why is health so important? I mean, why? You look at you, Mark. I mean, you're whatever age. You're nearly up there with me, but you're in better shape than most 20-year-olds I know. So how do you do it? And what would you say to the people in the room about how important it is?
To me, I mean, it's my job, it's my business, it's been my life. But as HR people, you know how important health is. Being healthy, missing sick days, productivity. I mean, all the studies are there. You know that already. But I'd say the most important thing that I've learned through working with executives, because what I do now is I'm a personal trainer, but I only work with executives, mostly CEOs, because I charge an astronomical amount of money to train, and they're the only ones who can afford it. And that's why I don't work with athletes, because we have no money.
Right.
So I actually work with a lot of multimillionaires, a lot of billionaires, and the one thing that they all say is that they wish they had spend more time and paid more attention to their health, because anybody who comes to me, I work in the sports medicine center, they're hurting. Nobody comes in there because they just feel like working out. They're either sick or they're hurting, and they're like, all the money in the world, rest in peace, Steve Jobs, all the money in the world's not going to save you. Your health should be your number one priority, because, I don't care how much money you have. If you're, in a hospital bed, you can't pay for your health. So that should be everybody's priority. In some fact, you don't have to go to the gym every day, you don't have to work out every day, but your health should be the most important thing.
And just, to sort of, finish off here too, is how do you transfer your experience, what you've done, to your clients and, to everybody else? How would you take that and say, here's how I can help you, how do you transfer that to the people that you're working with?
Well, in a couple of ways. Specifically for, like I said, I never ever wanted to train athletes, and recently I've just taken on a few, and it transfers in so many different aspects of life. Tim knows the person that I'm going to be talking about, because I'm actually coaching Tony's daughters now.
Oh, cool.
Just in their fitness. I won't go to the track. I still refuse to go to a track, but a buddy of mine, Tony, his kids are at the age now where they're in grade 12, and they have the opportunity to get a scholarship. There's one girl in particular, not Tony's daughters, but this other girl. There's 3 of them that I work with. And I'm not sure how many of you ever followed track and field, but there was a girl named Marianne Jones a few years ago. She was a specimen. I know she was on drugs, but other than that, she was a specimen. She was like an amazing athlete. I have a girl who's 17 years old. She looks like a little miniature Marianne Jones. She's a specimen. She's the best sprinter in Canada for her age. And they come into the gym, and I sort of think I know what I'm talking about when it comes to track. I might not know what I'm talking about when it comes to anything else, but it took me 16 years. What I want to do to these kids is to shorten that for them, like cut out all the mistakes that I made and make your life a little easier. And it really, one of my pet peeves, I mean, I have a few of them, but one of my pet peeves is when, the parents come in and they tell me, well, I think this is what my kids need. And I'm like, are you serious? Like, one of these, they train 3 times a week. As I said, if you go down to the States, they train 8 days a week. Like, we don't even train compared to what they do down there. So when they come in there, they're trying to tell me what their kids need in track, which I've been through and I've been there. So I'm trying to tell them the importance of, how to train and what they should be doing. The reason is because she's been getting scholarship offers from a lot of different schools. In the last couple of weeks, UCLA has been calling her. I would have died for the opportunity to go to a school like UCLA, not only just for a track career, which is great, but for education and everything else. And I was talking with Linda earlier about this. Sometimes people just don't get it, and I just want to get through to these kids that they just get it. A scholarship to UCLA is $250,000 minimum. These kids up here who are going to school struggle for, working part-time jobs, making 10, 12 bucks an hour to pay their way through college. Maybe the whole career of the $20,000, $30,000. $250,000 plus everything else that goes along with it. All you have to do is train a little bit harder, or just listen to what I have to say. Like, I may not be a guru in it, but it drives me insane. It's $250,000. Like, you can't work for that. And they're just wanting to give it to you. They say, you just have to be this much faster. And I'm saying, this is what you need to be, this much faster. And the parents are telling me, no, we got to stop her from training. She's working too hard. I just want to drill the parent.
Yeah.
I'm like,
it's 1 inch.
It's 1 inch. It's 1 inch. It's 1%,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that difference just to take it to the next level.
Yeah.
And it's kind of what you said: Canada, U.S., Britain. Find out where the best are. And we always say, you want to be an eagle, find the eagles and soar with the eagles. Hang out with the people who are already doing it. Yeah. And you're a perfect example of that.
And yeah.
So first of all, we from the HRPA Toronto chapter, we really like to thank Mark for giving us his time tonight. It's pretty amazing. It's not that often that you get to hang with an Olympic champion, and Mark will stick around, and if you want to take some pictures with him, he'll do that. Only the people in the front row. Okay? No. Mark will do that, for within reason, but.
As long as I'm out of here by 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm good.
Yeah, exactly. And the other amazing thing is what's really nice about Mark, and I've known him for a long time, is Mark's so genuine. Mark's humble, and he appreciates it, and he knows what it takes. And it's kind of nice to meet somebody at that level that is so genuine, because you can feel his passion, you can feel where he's coming from, and you know how he did it, because you just look at him and he sets the example. What a wonderful, we need to be better in Canada at this. You've heard it from Mark, you've heard it exactly, but you look at people like Mark who made such a difference, and they're still making such a difference. But again, thank you so much. And does anybody, we'll probably take a few questions, right? Jen, do you guys take a few questions from the audience? Yeah, I think, do we have a mic or? So you can stand up. I'll repeat questions or whatever. Or what?
No?
Anybody?
Yeah, I have the mic. Okay.
Okay, great. I think
Just
Tony
waiting
had
for some
one.
juice. Yeah, questions?
Yeah, Tony has one.
Oh.
About loaning you as coach and making you the gold medal winner. Sorry, you didn't say how your friend Colin felt about loaning you as coach and making you the gold medal winner as an old man.
Well, actually, Colin, I just talked to him. I talked to him at Christmas time. We're still great friends. He didn't cut me off for beating him. You know, the one thing I noticed about people who are really successful, who are champions, is they want to work with the best. Like you can go on, they're approachable, and they want to help you. And his reasoning was, I had my strengths, he has his strengths. If we both work together, we'd both be good. And that's another attitude we don't have over here. Everybody wants to work in their little groups, and they want to, not tell anybody else what they're doing. He was like, come on over. Like, everybody can come over. Like, we all work together, we'll all get better. He went on to win the World Championships the next year and set a world record, and he's one of the best hurdlers in history. He's done things that I've never done. He's never won a gold medal, mind. But he's run, one of my goals that I've never accomplished was to run under 13 seconds. My best was 13:08, and Colin's run under 13 seconds more than any other hurdler in history. So he was like the best in history, and like I said, we learned so much from each other, and we hung out right after the race. We hung out all night. He was disappointed, obviously, but he's a true champion.
Well, an interesting statistic about Mark, too, that's pretty incredible is he's still, for the 60 meters indoors, fastest time ever. Still, ever. There's nobody that's ever been faster in a 60-meter hurdle. And what I think they always said is maybe the best starter, not just in the hurdles, but in sprints ever. So, kind of pretty cool. Again, a good Canadian lad.
We're friends again. Okay.
Okay, good. Good, I got a point there. Good. I'm back on his friendship list. Other questions? Anybody else? Yeah.
I'm right here. Hang on.
Thank you. So you shared some of the technical advice that your coach had given you, adjusting your foot, etc. Can you share some of the other advice that could be applicable, maybe more the mental advice or the emotional component?
That's a good one. You know what? I was, funny enough, I came straight here from a new company that I'm getting involved with. And what they do is they mentor. The biggest problem for athletes, if you've ever looked at the statistics, is, especially professional athletes, is the transformation from athletics to the real world. I mean, they get millions of dollars. Their kids come out of school. 85% of athletes are broke when they finish. They have multi-million dollars. They're broke. And so it's a mentoring company that's just starting that mentors athletes, hopefully before they retire, so they can transition into the real world. And then I came in here, and you guys were talking about the same thing. Like, I literally came up from the Intercontinental on the way. I've been there for 2 days. The one thing that I learned, I take things for granted when I'm training, because I just want it so bad. I'm just got blinders on. People can say you did this, and I don't know what I did. I just did it. But from going to more of these things and talking to more people, especially in this realm, my coach, the difference between Malcolm and all the other coaches I had was if you go to gyms and you see trainers and you see coaches, they're like, come on, do 10 more. You can do more than that. They're driving you. Malcolm never used to say anything. He used to sit there. He said, this is the workout. He never used to be there half the time. You want it? Like in Tim's book, you'll see one of my favorite guys as a mentor who's not around anymore, Henry Ford. If it's to be, it's up to me. And Malcolm was, he would pull the best out of you. And I think that's what I get from the other group that I just learned from, is the best mentors are the ones that ignite your thought. Like, you'll ask questions rather than tell you what to do. Whereas the coach is here, it's like, you've got to do this. And Malcolm would be more like, you know what do you think you did wrong there? Or how do you think you can improve that? So that was one of the biggest things I've got out from last weekend and being here is Malcolm was real nurturing as a coach rather than being the demanding type.
And you said it's a mindset, it's emotional. And like Henry Ford said too, whether you think you can or can't,
You're right.
you're
yeah.
right. You're right. You make the decision. You make the decision. Obviously, Mark made that decision.
Yeah, like I said, it's choice. That's one of the number one things. It's a
Yeah.
choice. Yeah.
You choose. Life's a choice. Choose wisely. Anybody else?
Right here.
Yeah.
Hi. So this is kind of stringing off of the discussion you just had. A lot of these stories that we hear about, we hear them in, half an hour or through this great movie about a great experience that someone had. And really it's 20 years put into, one short story. And I think that a lot of the struggles that we have, especially for the younger generation, is that instant gratification. And in a lot of cases, in a lot of these big, great stories, it doesn't exist the same way. And so I'm just wondering what your mindset was more on like a day-to-day basis of reaching your goal that might have been, 16, 18 years away, and how you kind of built up to that.
That's where I think when I tell people, or kids, but I especially like to go to kids. I mean, you guys are old. You guys are already in your ways. But go to high schools. Well, maybe not you. You're young. Go to high schools, and I tell kids, you have to find something that you love to do. Not like, a lot of people like what do. Speaking with Linda again, it's like people are they're in jobs. Sorry, Linda, to put you on the spot all the time. But she's the only one who would talk to me when I came here. I was just sitting in the corner. I had no friends. But people are in their jobs or in their whatever, and they're doing stuff, and they're not being productive, and they're not very good at it because they don't love what they do. You can't really be good at something. You can't be good at track, and everybody's getting up at 6 in the morning to go train, and you show up at midday. You got to find something that you're really passionate about. And mind you, again, I wasn't really passionate about hurdles until I started to get good at it, because you have to be absolutely nuts to be passionate about hurdles. But I didn't think of it as 1,461 days between each Olympics. I was doing it because I loved doing it. I loved training. That's why I still train. It's not a fad. I just didn't do it for the time that I wanted to compete. I was doing it from the time I was 10 years old. Like, I remember making up workouts for myself when I was that young, before I even knew what I wanted to do. I just loved fitness. I loved health. And that was always my passion. I think the main thing in life is you have to have a burning desire to do something. And then you don't notice the, 16 years.
But you discover your strengths too, right? So it's part of find out generally what you're good at is what you love to do. I mean, it's a pretty good, way to sort of measure it is, gee, here's my strengths. So, lots of you guys have heard of Marcus Buckingham, now discover my strengths in the HR world, but what are you really good at? What do you love? What are you passionate about? Because that's what will drive you. And it's kind of then you, day after day after day, so you're also creating great habits. I mean, you acquire certain discipline. And so, it's interesting, different generations too talk about this whole thing about instant gratification and all this kind of stuff. But here's the thing about an overnight success. Most overnight successes take about 15 years. That's kind of the rule of thumb. So the rule of thumb is it doesn't exist. Overnight success.
It took me 16 years. I know.
Yeah,
I'm a failure.
16, yeah. Or 16 sometimes, and you might get a gold medal. So
I was going to quit at 15, years.
Yeah,
I really was.
But you went one more year.
Never give up.
Yeah. So you'll know. And don't worry, just keep driving. Keep driving. I mean, that's what Mark's always talked about. So, it's a great question.
Yeah.
Very good question. Any other questions, you guys? Anything else? Okay, thank you for your time. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Thank you.